Looking forward to continuing the 10x, 2x conversation.
Absolutely. This episode is actually going to be 10x long, so buckle up. Just kidding. Just kidding. Everyone looks at their thing.
Length is not the 10x, 2x.
No, it's not a quality. It's quantitative.
It's quality.
It is a qualitative.
Yes.
So
this is such a meaty topic. The book did a great job of kind of unpacking the idea of much different behavior is required to reach, again, we talked about in our last episode, it's not all about you have to work 10 times as hard.
Nope, you shouldn't.
And we've yet to have an advisor we coach, business owners I work with say, Sten, nope, I just want to work harder and make less. That if we say, if there's a way to help more people, make more money, and work more efficiently, are you open to that?
Yeah.
And there is a better thing than you're doing now. We all have to admit that. No matter how much we have figured out, there's a better way to do it. You just have to find space to implement it. And be willing to sit in the discomfort of the change over. And that's 10x and 2x is full of discomfort. And we want to dive into that a little bit deeper in the context of leadership.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with an advisor this week that was getting some communication from their leadership that, hey, we really need you to do a better job prospecting. And they said to me multiple times, they said they want more activity. I want more activity. And I said, can I pose a different question or problem, which is, are you thinking about what activities? Because what I heard him saying was just they just want more.
Yeah.
And more of average is just more average.
Yeah.
Right.
But it will drive your numbers. And so I think in the absence of better strategies, the default is just do more stuff.
Yeah.
Because if it's do more stuff or do less, doing more will usually lead to better numbers. Yeah. It may not be that you enjoy your job, that there's a better long-term outcome, but in the short term, if there's somebody in your firm that is judged based off of your short-term production, they will tell you just do more stuff because I need some immediate return on my investment on you. But it's short-lived. And so our argument or goal would be is what is the higher quality activity that still yields short-term results, but also long-term creates more efficiencies.
Right. It leads into this first level of leadership, though, that essentially everyone starts at. Most everyone starts at, which is the rugged individualist, doing everything yourself. I mean, I'm hesitating a little bit because you are supposed to do joint work and team and things like that. But is it not the case that most people, when they begin, they have, it really is up to them. No one's sort of like going, hey, here's a bunch of business.
Yeah, I like the word you used there was kind of the rugged individualist because it is, it's not comfortable.
Keyword
it's
on
not
rugged.
Efficient. Yeah. It is like, I'm just going to work hard to get results.
Yeah.
And that is what a lot of us do. I was just talking to a client before we started doing this podcast, and he has sold a couple companies. And what happens is even when he starts a company, once you adopt this, once you've graduated from, tier 1 all the way up to tier 4, what we'll talk about, a tier 4 leader, even when they sell their thing and start over, they very quickly build a team and manage it the same way.
Yeah.
They don't start over at rugged individualist.
Yeah.
But with so many advisors that we're stuck there.
Yeah.
For potentially your entire career because you're making just enough to be like, well, it's really a job. Like you're satisfied with the job of you help people, which is great. But when it comes to running a business, being a business owner, scaling your impact on people, being more profitable, that's just a rugged individualist is usually not even in having those conversations.
Yeah, and I would say to some degree you can't afford to have those conversations because this reminds me of sort of our first stage of being an advisor, that being a rookie, that this is like a survival thing, right? This is pretty early on. But if you can't translate that into healthy leadership, meaning you're going to expect the same sort of activity out of people that you're doing, there's very little optimization at this level of leadership. It's literally just do it more.
Yeah. And maybe you have a team member or two and they're just kind of sitting around waiting for you to tell them what to do. You haven't really led them to be a better version of themselves in that role. You haven't challenged them to have accountability. Like there's not much leadership happening here except for, to your point, just enough to survive, like the bare minimum to exist in this business.
Yeah. And I hope this hurts some people because it's gonna, and it should, because we care about you, is that at this point, if you hired someone, you probably wouldn't be able to manage them very well. And they're probably not the highest quality of hire because you don't really know who to hire yet. Because again, you're just doing your own thing. And again, it's fine for a while because maybe that's what you have to do to survive. But just as in our stages, which I think was like episode 2 through 5, of this whole podcast. It's like, hey, that's fine. It got you there, but as quickly as you can get out of that. But the next stage, I think, is where a lot of, I mean, I don't know if you would put a number to this. I'd be interested to know after we talk about what percentage you would put here, but of advisors who get to this point and then just stop. What percentage of people would say, yeah, this is the goal, which is fascinating that like some people would say this is the goal and we're only halfway through. And the next one is level 2 is a manager who has recruited a team around themselves. I mean, that sounds like leadership and a high level of leadership. So, and maybe we have to talk about it in the context of the others, but I'll let you direct that. So what are the positives and what are the negatives of this?
At this stage, you're experiencing some of the benefits of a team. You're realizing, hey, there's stuff I really don't enjoy doing that's not very efficient. And now I have some support in that level. But a manager, you're still just telling everybody what to do. You're the bottleneck. You are the over-focused on quality control to the point to where you think any mistake, any learning curve somebody might have is detrimental to the brand. You kind of blow it up, and what you're doing unintentionally is highlighting yourself even more. Like, I just can't because it's all about me. That a manager, there is some power struggle there of like, I am in charge, do what I say, I always know what's best. And there's a lot of advisors. I'd probably say, in level 1, the rugged individualist is probably 60% of advisors.
Wow.
Managers probably another 20, 25%.
I was like, we're running
and
out.
If you're listening to this, there's not, when we get to 3 and 4, there's just not a lot that have looked at themselves as true business owners, developed themselves in leadership. So for number 2, well done if you were able to kind of, we're not bashing this level, but well done if you've said, hey, I know it can't all be about me. I've taken the risk to find some people, maybe I've lost some people, hired some people, gone through the tension that comes with leading people. But if you feel like you're managing and maybe even micromanaging, the first step is you becoming aware of like, oh man, like I want to figure this thing out. Like maybe leadership doesn't come natural to me. And we all progress. So if you were 1 and now you're 2, great, you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
The whole goal is that you don't get stuck. You don't stay there too long.
I think the difference between 1 and 2 can be so big for so many people that it's like, oh, okay, I'm there. I finally got there. I finally got other people to be doing stuff.
Yeah, it'll feel a lot different for sure.
And then the other issue is then maybe your job becomes managing those people. But again, you're not running a business. You're just managing people. And I think that's the 10X model is that the people that, and it's cliched, the people you think of, the Mark Cubans and, the Tim Cooks or whatever, like it's just the Elon Musk. It's like, even Elon's got some weird stuff where he'll like get into the weeds. Really, he's probably not a good example because he's insane. And I mean that in the most positive way possible. He's crazy. But those who truly have a business that like they have freedom, they have their life, they don't have to be there. They're just not doing manager kind of stuff, right? Yeah. They've hired really high quality people. They have really great systems in place. They're not scared when they get a lot more customers, right? That's one of the things that I've seen with talking with some advisors. They're just like, I couldn't handle that many more people. Yeah. And that's a great, like I'm not great at math, but I don't think you can get to 10X if you can't handle 2 times as more people.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good point.
So let's talk about the third, and then maybe it'll give 2 a little bit more light, which is a leader who has extracted themselves fully from operations with leaders in place to run everything, leaving themselves as a focus on innovation and their unique ability and able to 10X themselves. So I mean, that unique ability part we talked about in the last episode some as well, but they're able to, what's the word it was, extract themselves, which sounds like such a negative, but in this light, it's a positive, and that they've removed themselves, they innovate using their unique ability. Let me just ask a question, like not scripted. How do you feel when I talk about that? When I say that level of leadership, you've extracted yourself fully from operations. You have leaders in place to run things. It lets you focus on innovation and your unique ability to 10X yourself. Like, how does that feel?
2 years ago, I would have said that felt really distant.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even practically explain to you what the path would look like or what does the day-to-day look like.
Yeah.
thankfully that's the tier that I'm working my way into and trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And for me, that was hard to actually put people in charge of the companies I have. But as a leader in that tier, in level 3, that doesn't mean and we've talked about this before, that you like walk away and you just say, hey, everybody.
All right, extract. All right, so
good luck,
leave.
I'm done.
Right. Yeah.
But you're trying to remove yourself, which empowers those people to
Yeah.
make choices. And you are then stepping in periodically and consistently to kind of check and coach and encourage. There's this natural tendency, and I've seen this in our business, to where it was like this company started as a person. And then people came around that person, which is tier 2. You're managing them. You've trained everybody at this point to just look to you and rely on you. And it takes time for people to retrain themselves to say, like, okay, we all have agreed upon what the end goal is, the parameters to get there. And now within that, I, as a team member, am judged off of the results in this very specific role. Now it's up to me to problem solve the solution versus I'm going to sit here until someone tells me what to do, and I'll do it with a lot of heart and a lot of care.
Right.
But I still have to just constantly be told what to do and corrected.
Yeah.
In this, and I'm starting to experience it, and there's growing pains to this. Like, none of this is easy. Trust me. It's hard. And then days you feel like you made a big leap, and then you're like, wow, did we just totally revert back to who we used to be?
Yeah.
And now, and when I talk to my other leaders, it's like the superpower we can have for the team is to be able to sit in this tension really well and encourage them along the way.
Yeah.
Versus our emotions going up and down as things change. Because curveballs are coming. This is going to be hard. But at this role, you're able to empower people, and then you start seeing them sit in the tension themselves and find solutions. And in them, you see these new parts awoken.
Yeah.
And they're like, I didn't think I could do that. Wow, I'm doing this. And they take more ownership, but it doesn't happen overnight.
That's what I was waiting for, and I was going to mention was ownership. That I think that the difference between a manager and this level of leadership is that when you cannot extract yourself from operations unless people are taking ownership over those things. And it is the equivalent of, if the manager leaves, people are like, I don't know where to go. Yeah. I mean, it's like if you've ever seen, and yes, I go on YouTube trails like everyone else, but one of my favorites, and actually this lady was on Joe Rogan. She's a beekeeper. And she talks about, like, you want to move the hive, you just take the queen and you move her, and then they all move with the queen.
Yeah.
Like, and not a bad manager. It's like, you take the manager out, and people, they literally, like, the bees don't know what to do. They're like, what? What is our purpose in life? And the answer is they don't have one. Because their whole purpose is to serve the queen. But, like, that might work for bees, but for us, it's like, no, you got to be able to leave and then have people keep working. I mean, they literally go into a panic because they're like, everything I did was about this person. And so for you, what are some really practical things you can do to encourage those who are listening or watching? Sten, that sounds awesome. I'm managing people right now. What do they need to hear or do to start to level themselves up as a leader? To start to, you said a few things, which I thought were great, which is like, you have to be okay with letting people kind of find their way. Right? I think you have to hire people who care enough to take ownership.
Yep.
Right. If they don't care enough, they're never going to take ownership. It's not about paying them more.
Yep.
Right. So what are some other things that people can do to extract themselves? I guess they have to know their unique ability, right? What we call a superpower.
Yep.
Right. And they have to innovate. So what are some things that people can do? And then we'll talk about the last level.
Yeah, I think as a leader, when I think about moving from, being an individualist to like, hey, I manage and just tell people what to do, and that helps me be a little more efficient, to 3 of like actually using the word like leadership, is there's curiosity is a big one. I was curious in the past, but I didn't know how to communicate that curiosity, which means if you can ask people good questions and help them get to the solution on their own, that's much better leadership than walking into a room and just telling everybody what to do all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a skill you can develop. And think about it, whether it's with, your marriage or your friends or your team members. Like, do you go into a meeting usually asking questions first?
Yeah.
To say, okay, maybe there's something missing here. I felt like we understood that this was the goal, but then when we talked about it, you were working on something totally different. Would you explain to me why that happened?
Yeah.
Because they could have a great reason on why, and you might be like, oh, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big one as a leader, to where you're going in trying to get as much information as possible. The other is you're not managing to be liked. And that was really hard for me. So I wasn't very curious, but I wanted everybody to have a good time at work and like working with me, until I started getting better at saying, okay, here's the objective for your role. Here's what we're all shooting for. Here's what we need for you. And part of this was I had other leaders that could help keep people accountable with me.
Yeah.
Then you can say, hey, I really care about you. Hey, here's the goal. And you could be more of the cheerleader as opposed to the enforcer. But if somebody is not reaching what they have to, even though you have rapport and you're being kind, you have to, at this stage of 3, have hard conversations.
Yeah.
And so I think these components of me going in and asking better questions, empowering people, delegating better, but then also saying, if this isn't working out, I'm not going to delay it. Because, before each individual person on the team, even me, like the mission takes priority.
Yeah. So this last level I think is fascinating because I think the nuance of it is that it's about the people that you surround yourself with. Mm-hmm. So this is level 4, a leader who has built a business where everyone at all levels is empowered to refine their scope continually to focus on their unique ability. Mm-hmm. And as a result, the whole team is working on 10xing themselves. Mm-hmm. The shift of, in 3, it's about, you, the leader, or you watching and listening, like you, the leader. And suddenly it's like, whoa, what? I'm in a room of people that are running the business and they know their unique ability. They're trying to 10x themselves. Mm-hmm. And that is, again, that's the promised land right there, to get to that level. But we know what happens. We know people that are super proud of where they work and the work they do and take complete ownership, even if they're not owners, right? But they have such a deep, they're just committed, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it's finding those people. So I think is maybe the challenge between 3 and 4, just you got to go find people like that.
Well, what came to my mind as you were talking was culture and compensation. I think to get to that level, you would want everybody to feel just like you do about the company, but that's not theirs. At the end of the day, the risk mostly is on you as the owner, and they keep getting paid even if you're not profitable. Like there's always going to be some kind of disconnect. But with key leaders, people that you're really entrusting and you're holding to some higher level of accountability, there has to be some type of bonus structure, profit share to say, hey, if you're in the trenches with me and you're getting results, good things happen. Not, hey, as long as you keep your job, good things happen.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of advisors, and this is something I'm kind of trying to stay aware of how these trends change, is what is creative, motivating compensation structures. And then also saying from a culture standpoint, what makes a place great to work. Lunches are fun, outings, company Christmas parties, I think those things are great, but individually trying to develop your people.
Yeah.
Do they have a personal mission? What's their profession? Like how does their job fit in their life? And are there things you can celebrate with them? Those two things for me are what I'm looking to and saying, okay, Sten, if you're getting into tier 3 at this point and you're still figuring that out, tier 4 to me practically as a business owner is a tier to where I could step away from my business for 2 to 3 months and come back and it would be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tier 3, you're like, I could go away for 2 to 4 weeks and come back and it would be as it was.
Right.
Tier 1 and 2, if you leave, stuff starts falling apart.
Yeah.
And every advisor we've coached and talked to, if we were in a room, they would be like, yeah, ideally this would be a healthy organization, not relying on me.
Yeah.
Very few advisors, though, are willing to take the necessary steps to increase their awareness of what's needed to go there and then stay the course. And a lot of that is our coaching program is that. We're going to help you find clarity on what the next steps are you need to take.
Yeah.
And we're going to sit there with you and be like, okay, remember why you're doing this. Yeah, of course it's supposed to be hard. Hey, that stinks, but yeah, that's normal. Like, you need that third party influence in coaching, and I've needed it to stay through the parts where it just feels like this isn't worth it. I want to go back to what I was doing before.
I want to go back to the celebration and then the compensation. Like, I think that, was that your first one, celebration? Was that the word?
Culture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about celebration because
which is part of culture.
A lot of things you talked about, but we'll stick with culture. That I think culture is super important, but I think that if your culture does not include making you better at work, better at your job. Like, my point is, you can't run from but we're so fun, and we have ping pong tables, and we have like we saw that, and it doesn't work. It's a myth. It's a myth that I just love going to work because it's fun. Okay, I won't work. I have fun at work. I have fun every day I come here. I cannot think of a day I came here and I didn't have some measure of fun.
Yeah.
Even if it was my own expense. I can laugh at myself.
But I think at scale, real quick, those companies are like, let's be fun. That leads to just over hiring.
Yeah.
And it's just not a great business. It's still kind of working, but what we've seen with, when Elon Musk bought that company, he's like, we can run just the same exact thing with a fraction of the people and be more efficient. And so I think that's where businesses can go off track as far as like profitability and efficiency.
Yeah.
And the goal is both. Like you want to balance
Yeah,
it.
and that's what I'm saying. Like what I would say is a person who I really highly, highly, highly value being liked and having relationships and having fun at work, but none of that matters if you're not getting better at your job.
Mm-hmm.
None of it matters if your company isn't profitable, because you can't have fun at work if your company closes, right?
That's right.
And so for you as an advisor listening or watching, I think that, again, if you want to level up, I think that the best thing you can do is to hire the best people you possibly can and then get as much out of them as you can. And I mean that in a positive way, like help them reach their greatest potential. That's what brings me back to work. Is like there's more for me to develop and become. The mission is important. The culture is important. But because I know that I'm being invested in and that I'm being called, I'm being made to feel uncomfortable, like I welcome that. And you want people who welcome that. Right? Sure. That's a healthy work environment versus what I'm going to go to work to not work. Like, I like taking a break, but it's like you should like your work too.
Yeah.
So I think, again, if you're going to level up to this level of leadership, you need to get to the point where you're so good at culture and compensation that you have people that really, truly do take ownership so that you can leave. And then also, I think that level of self-awareness is massive, which I think is a good measurement for your listener watching. Like, do my people know what their unique ability is? And if they don't really have one, like, is that the best person to be in that spot?
Yeah, I think the leadership is one of those things to where very quickly you could go from being pretty good to like knowing a lot about it.
Yeah.
Like the learning curve can be as steep as you want from books, podcasts, our live events, our community. That's something we lean in on. If you're like, I don't know who to hire. Well, we'll tell you who to hire, and we'll tell you what their job description is to be, and we'll tell you and
then you'll describe that person, or be like, stop, don't hire that person.
That's right.
Because we've literally had this. We're like, listen, they're great, but like they can only work from like 11 to 2, 3 days a week, and we're like, huh?
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Like that's not. Oh, but I really like them. Okay, well, you can still like them.
Yeah,
but don't hire them.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So I hope you're listening, and my guess is you want more out of your business. Awesome, but it'll be difficult. But it doesn't have to be the long, slow path. And that's what part of our mission is to show you, like, there's this path you can take that most people are on. It's crowded. Or there's this path, and it's harder, but it's more intentional. It's the outcome you want. And so as you listen, my hope is you're evaluating, like, which path am I on? Am I making decisions that are just going to kind of be the long limp? Or am I taking decisions like, well, I'm getting uncomfortable and trying this stuff out?
Yeah.
Because even if you hire somebody, and we'll teach you, how to hire the right people more efficiently, but even if you do, the lesson you learn from going through that, I've done it multiple times, you're automatically better off. And you will. So the act of doing it, even if not done well, is better than staying stuck.
Yeah. Last thing I want to talk about, and I'm just interested in your thoughts on this. I'm thinking about that. I don't think 10x growth is slow growth. Like, I think by definition, it's sort of a hockey stick thing. Like, some really good things happen, and then you get some pretty quick growth or healthy growth or fast growth, because I don't see a lot of people who do the slow, at least in this business, where they do the slow, like, I 10x, other than like they just, whatever, this assets just build up. So maybe you're 10x versus you were 30 years ago, but that doesn't really count.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just inflation.
Yeah, or the illusion of you hit a big one-time client and it kind of like, it gives you the, like, oh, we're doing great. No, your system's not great. Like, that's not happening consistently enough. There's not efficiencies. You're too into your business, working too hard all the time. Like, so I think those are the things that, an outside resource like us for advisors has been this sounding board and this kind of this mirror to say, everything you're saying sounds like you fully believe it. What about this, this, and this? And by the end of the conversation, they're like, no, you're right. Like, I know that's not the right path. I know I should be doing this. I'm just not. Like, you need to get off of the island to get more clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope that you'll consider getting this book, 10X is easier than 2X.
And then when you feel super uncomfortable and lost, you call us. We'll help.
Absolutely. We're here to help. Thank you, Sten.
Thanks, bud. Hey, everyone. Sten Morgan here. I strongly believe that the advisor of the future is being paid for their time and ideas. Products are great. They help us solve problems, but you need to unlock all of your value. I was talking to an advisor the other day who just started charging for their advice, and they were trying to convince themselves to charge $1,500 for a financial plan just because that was a number they felt comfortable with. After spending a little bit of time with them and telling them how to whiteboard and quantify the value of their ideas, they over tripled their financial planning fee just because their conviction and confidence increased. These are the type of things we will do together live in Nashville in January at our How to Charge Live event. Visit howtochargelive.com and secure your seat before it sells out.